Hello everybody, it is me, Milan Persia.
And me, Colson Isenor, creator of Ready to Play.
And we are here with our first Thomas's Ready to Play Adventures commentary on one of our pilot specials.
The Haunted Line.
The very first one. Ooh, and there's the Isenor Family Entertainment logo, which I animated. So this right here, to start things off, this was a little intro I actually animated right at the tail end of production. So originally we were just going to do a finalized version of the series intro, but I decided, you know what? It's a special, it's Halloween, let's have a bit of fun, and I'm feeling experimental. So this was animated within a few hours on Photoshop. I took inspiration from a lot of films from the 60s and 70s for the opening, that silhouette style. So it's very fun to put together. But speaking of putting things together, I guess we can start off with, how did we get the idea for doing this special?
The original idea we had was kind of like, it wasn't really Halloween themed, but it was just kind of like, it's set in fall, like Thomas has to pick up a load of pumpkins and he has to take it to a farm or something, but it gets diverted onto the wrong line and he either finds like a coach or an old station, and we didn't really have an idea. Like, we had ideas, but it didn't really fall into plan, and then it was reworked into this.
Yeah, because how this kind of got into production was, Season 1 was going to release in fall 2024, and as you guys have seen, that's not quite happened, so we got the idea of doing a Halloween special, and then the story we originally outlined before any of this did not work out because we could not secure a couple of props. So then we decided to go and develop ideas. So Colson developed the basic idea, and then I roughed out a pretty solid outline, and then it was Jesh, one of our co-writers, who really brought this to life. There's a lot of the humor and a lot of major story beats are very much him. So it was a bit of a team effort for everybody for the writing side of things. And speaking of a team effort, my friend Lightning donated this lovely little Miss Martin figure, as well as many of the wood figures you'll be seeing throughout Season 1. And I'm very thankful for that donation and a lot of the donations we've gotten so far for the series. And that the Thomas faces here were done by my friend Little Brew Railway, aka Aaron. So just a lot of team efforts happening. And speaking of team efforts, this was one of the very first major town sets we actually did. If I remember right, Colson?
Yeah, it was. I actually think this was the first thing we filmed when we started filming. Was this one of the small little town sets? Was this one? Yeah,
because at this point we done freight yards. We did the harbor and a few things for the pilots and starting off Season 1. But this was our first real attempt at doing a town, and with a few different things. So this was a very fun experimental period with getting all the buildings I had been accumulating, and then little props, and then figure out do-it-yourself ways of getting sets together. Like this set right here is one of my personal favorites, and we filmed some stock footage enough, so you'll be seeing it a couple more times in Season 1.
Oh, look, there's Mr. Ed, the horse.
Oh my goodness. And for sets that Colson built, this one right here was laid down by Colson. I built the engine sheds, and then Colson laid down the tracks and a lot of the set dressing.
Yeah, kind of based on one of those Richard Courtney illustrations that you would see in a lot of those Random House paperback books, and I kind of ran with the idea.
And this segment coming up, so most of the series is filmed at Colson's house, but for some areas we actually end up filming at my house, and this entire scene right here, starting from here, was at mine. So the viaduct was one I acquired from Entertainment Junction before it closed. The engine scene here is an egg motorized Emily on a Lego chassis running on O-gauge track. I just love how this looked. Like, there's a lot of fun lighting with the bushes, and then experimenting with giving a real spooky atmosphere, and it was just a fun little sequence to put together right here.
Yeah. We have a very interesting voice cast who does this special. Of course, I play Otis in the special.
And I voiced the narrator, and then Porter, and a couple other little characters. And then we had our friend Jackie voicing two characters. We have her as Miss Martin, the schoolmaster, a little Thomas Live Arena show reference, and then also Penny. And then our friend Mecca voices Devin, and then Delmar voices Henry, and my friend Brina voiced Carly, and then we also have Jesh as a certain fellow you'll be seeing later.
Who does Thomas?
Oh, that is my good friend Mega. I can't believe I almost forgot to mention him, the star of the show.
Kind of doing a Joseph May impression, CGI.
Yeah, which was requested by you, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, originally I was going to get someone on MilanToon to do Thomas, but I thought I wanted to have two different, Thomas to do two different voices, so which of our series will be kind of separate. Kind of different. And, a lot of these shots really came out really nice, especially the kind of faces, depending on it. Some of the faces are different, but it just really depended on the type of character it is. Like right here, Otis doesn't really have any eyebrows, but I have developed to making some eyebrows for him when you see him in Season 1, so he'll be eyebrowless.
Yeah, a lot of the faces kind of depended on practicality, like pen, and also kind of to give each character a little bit more personality with that practicality. This little set right here was actually redressed from the engine shed set. We set up a couple of buildings and shot it on a low angle.
Yeah.
And this scene right here was actually the very first thing we had. I'm not joking, before we even had a proper script, because we were finishing up with the harbor. It had been a difficult shoot, and I had the basics of the episode kind of in mind a little bit with the story beats by this point, so I shot this scene a little bit impromptu, and I shot enough so that we'd have it kind of at the ready for the script. So, and Carly was a lot of fun to kind of get rigged up, so that's actually Chuggington Connect Tracks track from the Ill-Fated Jazzwares line, and then her skates were made out of actually a few different Lego Holiday Train kits that were at Dollarama, and then we set it up along the harbor side, and there's a lot more of her you'll be seeing in Season 1, luckily. And here is the piece de la résistance of our sets, the Ironworks. Oh, this was a real team effort.
It certainly was. We basically took a lot of stuff together, and we just took a lot of these black foam boards to kind of make it scary and atmospherically crazy.
Yeah, because for practicality, I looked a bit to the production of how Stepney Gets Lost with film, because the art director from Thomas had mentioned that the set was made of just a few different simple wall panels, so we used black foam board for that to be easy to set up, and then Colson did all the set dressing for this, and then I did a lot of the camera work, including some experimental shots like this, which was just on a flatbed that we had at the ready. And then coming up here, we have a real experimental bit. We have Airy and Bird. But hold on, those are the O-gauge ones. That's not right, is it, Colson?
Nope, they are not even the same size, but we found a clever way to pull it off.
Yeah, this took a lot of I'm trying to remember the proper word, but a lot of playing around with the perspective, and scale, so making it look like they're actually to scale when in fact they're not. And part of that was one of the ideas I had was while Airy sat on a couple of pieces of balsa wood, I actually set up Bert on one of the little bogies that we got from one of the Gold Lock kits, and then we had the smoker and the red lights, and absolutely one of my favorite things we filmed so far for the project.
That red car you just saw in the background was a reference to the 1980s horror film Christine, which is one of my favorite movies.
Oh yeah, and I forgot the post-credits was kind of your idea you threw in last minute.
Well, the post-credit scene in the red car you just saw in the corner.
And this scene was... We also learned a lot with this one in terms of a few things that we'd struggled on earlier episodes. We actually had to refilm the ending to one of the Harbor episodes during production because it turned out very bad, so we learned with the night lighting a few different things. Like a lot of shots, I actually set up my phone flashlight for filming, and we didn't use the LED lights at all during some of this, but made for shots like that a lot more spooky, but also a little bit easier. And then you punch up the brightness of it on Vegas, and it got pretty easy. And then there's a little buffer crash with some Lincoln logs.
We didn't really have actual buffers ready at the moment, so we just kind of put some Lincoln logs together and just kind of made it. But it was fun because we wanted Thomas to actually crash with the buffers, so the logs had a purpose.
Yeah, and it also gives off a more old vibe to the destination, which, speaking of, we a couple of major things coming up. First and foremost, this was a character that was developed by Colson that Jesh brought to life in so many ways. Red Caboose Berry, the man of the hour.
Yeah, originally we were debating if we were going to give Barry a face, and then I realized, not every character in Thomas has a face, and we thought we could just make him faceless, but still be kind of a cool character without one. And I think he just turned out just perfect.
Yeah, a lot of that is very much thanks to Jesh, both with the script writing and also because he offered up trying out for the voice, and then it kind of worked out. And funny enough, especially with the log cars there, we threw the log cars in because the location of the station was never specified in the initial script. I had some vague ideas, but I didn't really settle on anything. And then going through some old Mega Bloks kits, I figured, you know what? Let's just make this our take on Great Waterton. So I threw the wagons with the huge logs on. It's kind of a little cheeky reference to that. So again, a lot of improv with this, and for a lot of ready-to-play production. But that's also kind of the fun of it. A lot of us getting our own different ideas together and figuring things out a bit.
Yep.
And I'm just realizing, too, this was also our first this is actually the first set that we actually tried doing some greenery with, in terms of the series.
Yeah, we just used some green tablecloth to just use grass. Kind of a simple way of doing it.
Yeah, because I think we initially just kind of stuck with the carpet look, but then we experimented with that because I think Colson I think either me or Colson found them. I can't remember which one of us had done so at the moment. But we started putting that down and we were like, oh, you know what? Maybe we're onto something.
It certainly was onto something. Interesting, that nighttime scene was actually filmed in the afternoon if you actually didn't see the light through there, and this was actually filmed at night, even though this is the daytime.
Yeah, which kind of worked out because with the way that the lights are in the basement, and then with how we were during the afternoon filming the night stuff, kind of gave different things. We have the warm morning glow with the nighttime scenes because the orange lights are a little more prominent, and then with the way that the afternoon lights were, we had a little bit of almost moonlight going on. So
yeah, it kind of worked out in its own way.
Yeah, and then dressing this up came from a few different things, because the trees I think we got from a couple of train shows, and then our local railroad club we managed to get a few things from as well. And then a lot of the set dressing coming up here, it was mostly just Dollarama stuff, so anything we could find and pick up. And then for the ghost, obviously for the ghost costume coming up, it's just basically a washcloth put over Thomas,
which was able to work out perfectly. The campfire effect was just Milan just kind of a little light just going back and forth, kind of that campfire effect.
Yeah, it was like a bunch of like little LED fairy lights put together, like lanterns put together, and I just kind of waved around to give like a fire effect.
Yeah.
And then that was also Porter going by. I haven't even mentioned the customs. Oh, and this was our first look at the works, which we shot again for our Christmas special because we had already set it up beforehand. Mm-hmm. And so, again, a lot of practicality and improvisation with this, and I'm also glad to say that depending on the future, maybe not season 1, because this is part of season 1, and we've got a few different places to go to, you won't be seeing the last of Great Waterton. So it might take a while for us to get there again, but Red Caboose Berry will be returning.
And who knows, we might see the scrapyard set in another script as well.
Yeah, so...
Oh, is this the end? Well, yeah, that's the end.
Yeah, well, that's the end then. And look at all these cool people that helped put this together. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'd also like to take this time, too, to thank you guys so much for the reception to these first 2 specials. These were a very experimentation, my goodness. These were a very experimental couple of specials we did for the series, but with the response and lessons we've learned, we're still learning a few lessons, but we had fun old time working on these, and the reception for these and the encouragement to keep going. It's been very exciting for the future of what we got planned.
And here's that post-credits scene. I thought it would be cool to just end it with a post-credits scene, and I thought we were just going to have that shot of Chris, and we thought, oh, come on, why don't we just have a post-credits scene at the end? And we thought, sure, why not?
Yeah. Colson is fully responsible for making Christine potentially canon. And with that, we'll see y'all next time. Have a happy Halloween, everybody!
Boo!
Mwah! Goodbye! Wow!
Bye-bye! Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Goodbye.